Honourable Member for Kitchener Centre.
Madam Speaker, I'm certainly proud to rise today in support of the Budget 2012 Implementation Act tabled by the Honourable Minister of Finance. This budget not only delivers strong results for today's economy, it holds sound promise for the future of all Canadians. By identifying the economic challenges facing future generations, the government has developed a thorough plan to tackle these challenges and inspire hope in our young people. Canada's Economic Action Plan 2012 is a plan for jobs, growth and prosperity. It includes many important measures to expand our economy, and it preserves the quality of life for all Canadians. According to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities President Barry Verbanovich from my own city of Kitchener, Canada's municipal leaders welcome today's commitment by the federal government to continue working with cities and communities to rebuild the local roads, water systems, community centres, and public transit that our families, businesses, and economy depend on. Today's budget continues building a new infrastructure partnership that creates jobs and strengthens Canada's future economic foundations. So let's take a closer look at some of the new initiatives introduced in this budget, which will deliver future prosperity for all Canadians. One such measure recognizes the importance of a well-trained, highly educated workforce. In my riding of Kitchener Centre, I've had the opportunity to meet with plenty of youth who are attending our local institutions, Wilfrid Laurier, the University of Waterloo, Conestoga College, and others. In speaking with these bright young minds, I'm constantly reminded of how essential it is that these individuals have jobs to look forward to on completing their education. This budget addresses their worries about finding suitable employment opportunities. It offers additional avenues for young people to train for careers in new and exciting fields. The Youth Employment Strategy, begun in 2011, is a program created to reduce barriers to employment faced by some of our young people. It has helped to connect 70,000 young Canadians with job experience and valuable skills training. In particular, one of this program's streams, the Skills Link program, has had a significant impact in my riding. And I'm pleased that our government has committed to deliver an additional $50 million over 2 years to further enhance the youth employment strategy. Now, in addition to tackling the challenges of an uncertain job market for young workers generally, we cannot neglect the difficulties disabled Canadians are also facing as well. Improving labour market opportunities for those living with challenges has always been a key agenda item for this government, and it remains so with this budget. For example, Economic Action Plan 2012 delivers $30 million over 3 years to the Opportunities Fund for Persons with Disabilities. I know that this fund has provided opportunities to people in my riding, connecting them with valuable work experience. We can never overlook the importance of integrating the skills and experience of every Canadian into our economy.
True.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, we should also commend the government for its commitment to helping to expand small businesses. In my riding of Kitchener Centre, I'm consistently amazed by many small business owners and their willingness to find innovative ways of doing things. This progressive spirit confirms to me why small businesses can and will be prepared to compete in an increasingly competitive global economy.
Hear, hear.
To illustrate this government's commitment to small business, I'll start by noting that Budget 2012 extends the temporary hiring credit for small business by 1 year, an investment of $205 million. An investment like this not only reduces payroll costs, but it helps small businesses to retain more of their earnings for expansion. It permits them to create new jobs. Building on this dedication to expand small and medium-sized businesses, we've also proposed an additional $95 million over 3 years to make the Canadian Innovation Commercialization Program permanent. This program has shown exceptional results. It connects small and medium-sized companies with federal departments and agencies. It builds their capacity. In supporting programs like this, we are providing a solid foundation for these companies to compete in the marketplace. We position them to further create high-value jobs and long-term economic prosperity. In addition to our commitment to building the private sector and helping small businesses, Budget 2012 offers much, much more. In keeping with our promise to ensure prosperity for years to come, we've also upgraded our social programs to ensure future generations have a secure retirement to look forward to. We've given more than 10 years' notice of a gradual increase in the age of eligibility for old age security, not starting until April 2023. We're also allowing for the voluntary deferral of the basic OAS for up to 5 years, starting July 1st, 2013. These important changes will ensure that the cost of old age supplement remains balanced and proportionate for many years to come. Moreover, following a triennial review by Canada's finance ministers of the Canada Pension Plan, we've confirmed that the plan will remain sustainable for at least the next 75 years, giving our young people an assured sense of future financial security. By making responsible decisions like these, Madam Speaker, we're able to make considerable investments in skills training. We can support our science and technology sectors, creating an optimal environment for high-value jobs. As financial situations change, older business practices are continually being superseded at a rapid pace in a knowledge-based economy. Following an extensive review conducted by an expert panel in the fall of 2011, a number of recommendations were made on how the government could improve our support for innovative businesses. Canadian businesses spoke and the government listened. We knew that we needed a new approach to directly support innovation in Canada, and this budget delivers. Economic Action Plan 2012 contributes $1.1 billion over 5 years for direct research and development support. It also makes $500 million available for venture capital. This funding will go towards research collaborations, new procurement opportunities, and applied research financing. Innovation leads to success, and I've seen many examples of this in my riding of Kitchener Centre. Of course, a driving premise behind this budget and every Conservative budget to date has been keeping taxes low so that hard-working Canadian families can continue to thrive in challenging global economic times. Unfortunately, our friends across the aisle still seem not to understand the importance of this low-tax agenda. They believe that raising taxes will somehow magically create prosperity. I cannot stress enough the savings this low-tax approach will deliver for Canadians. Our government paid down over $37 billion in debt between the years 2006 and 2008, before the global recession, and that maintained Canada's low net debt position throughout the recession. And even still, we were able to implement a remarkable stimulus phase included in Canada's Economic Action Plan. Even in times of global economic fragility, the Canadian government is continuing to focus on the drivers of job creation and growth. Learning from the international landscape has shown us the importance of taking action now rather than delaying. We are prudent, we are farsighted, we are planning for the future. I'm reminded of a comment made by one of Canada's great prime ministers, Wilfrid Laurier. In 1908, Canada has become a star to which is directed the gaze of the whole civilized world. That is what we have done, he declared. Well, today, over 100 years later, we can once again say that Canada has become a star to which is directed the gaze of the whole civilized world. That is what the government has done with our economic action plan, and that work continues with this bill. I'm proud to support a government that will continue to support and put a priority on a balanced budget and building a strong economy for all Canadians. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Winnipeg Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Buried deep down in the bowels of Bill C-38 is this clause that hardly anybody even noticed. It abolishes, it repeals the Fair Wage and Hours of Work Act for federally regulated construction projects. Now, why would you want to abolish something called the Fair Wages and Hours of Work Act? I'll tell you why, Mr. Speaker, or Madam Speaker, and I'd like my colleagues' comment. It's a striking coincidence that now, in federally regulated projects like pipelines, a contractor can now post a job, wanted, carpenters, $10 an hour. Nobody's going to apply. But now, by this legislation, it's perfectly okay to do so. And 70 hours a week at no overtime. That's perfectly okay. No Canadian's going to apply, but guess what? They opened the door for temporary foreign workers with a 10-day waiting period. That same contractor, no fair contractor in this country will ever win another job because they've eliminated the Construction Fair Wage and Hours of Work Act by virtue of this legislation. Does he think it's fair in a budget bill to eradicate and destabilize the entire construction industry by eliminating the Fair Wages Act?
The honourable member for Kitchener Centre.
Well, first of all, Madam Speaker, I want to thank that particular questioner for his question and for keeping his language clean and his tone high. We always appreciate that when it occurs in this House. And I want to specifically thank him for raising the issue of construction because it gives me an opportunity to tell the House what the Canadian Construction Association President Michael Atkinson had to say about this bill. He said, the reforms promised by the budget to the environmental assessment process and immigration will ensure the country is well placed to take advantage of the more than $500 billion in major economic projects expected in Canada over the next 10 years. Now, I know that the member opposite isn't that concerned about creating jobs, isn't that concerned about creating prosperity for Canadians, but the government is, and that's why the Construction Association President is praising our budget.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Kingston and the Islands.
Madam Speaker, my honourable colleague from Kitchener Centre spoke about the Conservative government having paid down debt from 2006 to 2008 before the recession began. And you know why the honourable member said that is because in 2006 their government inherited a budget that was in large surplus that they inherited from the previous Liberal government. And why did the member end his period in 2008? Well, that was because his Conservative government put our federal budget into deficit, and as he said, before the recession began. So it's funny how they can spin these facts to make them sound good when what they really do is explain how this government has mismanaged the fiscal matters of this country.
Honourable member for Kitchener Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate my colleague's comment, although it proves to me once again that there is sometimes a need on the opposition side to train on how to listen. What I actually said was, in fact, that we had paid down the debt before the recession, and that as a result of that, we were able to maintain our low net debt to GDP ratio through the recession. Now, I suppose we should be honored that the honourable member thinks that it's our government that caused the recession, but I have to ask him to go back and reread his history, and he will see that it was actually a global economic phenomenon, and that our government did not cause the recession, and we did not cause the deficit that was necessary to respond to the recession.
I regret to interrupt the honourable member, but I would like to ask a little bit of order in the House. The honourable member for Kitchener Centre has the floor. If he would like to just complete his comments and we'll
Thank you very
resume
much,
debate.
Madam Speaker. The fact of the matter is that Canada has come out of that recession in a quicker, better, stronger position than any other member of the G7, and that's thanks to our government.
The honourable member for the honourable parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Agriculture, and there's just less than a minute left.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to ask my colleague his thoughts on how the NDP are basically handling this issue of the budget before Parliament. What I've seen is they're asking for more time, and yet they're frittering away the time that they have with procedural tactics like we saw yesterday. As well, one of their speakers ended up talking for 13 hours, and in my books that works out to about 50 time slots, 50 slots that NDP MPs could have used to actually debate the budget. So I wonder if my colleague could share his thoughts with that.
The honourable member has 30 seconds to respond.
It's a very astute observation that the NDP refuses to actually debate what's in the budget. All they want to talk about is process, and that's because what's in the budget is really beyond debate. It's been so well received across Canada, there's nothing they could say to criticize it.
Resuming debate, the